All right, we are live right now on YouTube. Probably like a 30-second display delay. First of all, massive thank you to my very special and honored guests, Peter Turner and Pigcake, tuning in from all over the world. This is a Welsh, English, and I want to say Mexican.
That's not accurate. That's not accurate at all. It's
Cuban.
Miami. It's Cuban. It's we've
Cuban.
gone over this many times, Lloyd.
Guys, thank you so much for joining me on this very special Sunday service live. My first one in over 2 years. How are you guys doing? What have you been up to for your weekend so far?
Oh, everything's been good. Yesterday I had the first day I've had off in a long time, so I just sort of chilled out, watched a few films. I messed with my Mustang, which is good. I've
Oh,
got new wheels put on it. It's looking pretty dapper, if I'm honest.
you and your American muscle cars, man.
Oh, I
I'm
love
so
them.
envious. I literally just don't look cool enough to pull one off. You know, like if you see when you see you in a Mustang, you're like, oh my God, that's a movie star. You see someone like me or Pigcake, and you're like, who are those guys that have stolen Pete Turner's Mustang?
Fixing a car.
So
We look like we're fixing a car.
I asked Pigcake to move it once. I said to Pigcake, I said, "Do you want to move it?" He's like, "I'm not touching the keys to that. I'm not touching it. It won't drive out." I made him go blocking the RV, and he was clinging on for dear life. You should have seen him. We got him a motorbike in
Listen,
America.
I was chill. Okay, I was chill. I will
Listen,
give you that the motorbike in Vegas, I was freaking out because that was a bike that was too big for me.
it were hilarious. It wasn't too big. It was, if anybody rides, it were a Sportster. It were a Harley Davidson Sportster. Now, they are generally given to the wives of the riders in the clubs. And not to say that they're not fast, because they are. They're great bikes. We put Pigcake on one of them, and he had these ape handlebars, and his little feet were just scraping along the floor. And he's like, "I can't do it." We pulled back up on the way back out, and the guy were like, "I nearly ran after you out the car park to take the bike off you." That's
Yeah,
where we rented the
uh,
bike from.
Oh, that's dodgy.
yeah. He was gonna be like, "Nah, dude, you're one of the worst people I've ever seen ride a bike in my entire life. You can't ride this." And then we ended up riding it an absurd amount through the desert, going to this stupid bar where they have dollars pinned everywhere.
We went to
That I
Red
think,
Rock Canyon, and tell you my favourite bit. So I pin a GoPro on my chest. I'm flying around Rock Canyon. And you see Steve go past. You see Pigcake like holding on for dear life. I said, look, and would you mind putting it on you to get a little bit of footage of me? So Pigcake puts this on, riding around. I'm like, that must be the most epic footage that I've ever shot on a bike. I get it back and put it into the computer. Mine looks great. Pigcake's is just of a petrol tank,
yeah,
just of the gas tank, because his body couldn't see over the top of the gas tank.
you got the best 4K view of the gas tank that you've ever seen in your entire life.
Pigcake, man. I honestly like the capers that you get yourself into. Like I think you're playing a character sometimes, but sometimes you just are that like I don't
Yeah,
like when you ended up in hospital in the UK. Like that wasn't just you playing a character. That was just you
no,
being your
of course
deadly
that was
little
the
self.
best part. That was the dumbest part because it was like, oh, hey, we have to have this scene because Peter, of course, is not satisfied with shooting a regular project of like, here's a trick, here's an explanation. He wants to shoot a movie,
Oh, for
and then
sure.
I suggest, oh, hey, let's slam me through a table, and that as a great stunt that was well documented in many different places of the end result of that. And of course, even after I'm dying in the hospital, Peter's like, we should still record this for the movie. We should
What,
film this.
what
I'm sure
better?
I text you like, so are we not meeting up today or
What better footage? Like we were in the hospital, we had a
clench my
cube
tears?
to ourselves. Yeah, I'm like, sneak the camera in and just finish the end of the movie. Like that wasn't originally what the end of the movie was going to be. Actually, it doesn't really make sense if you watch it back because I killed Pigcake off.
Mm-mm.
But then I revived him. He survived like miraculously, just because
I
the
like,
Machiavelli.
yeah the,
yeah,
the ending was so good. Do you know what I mean? That we had just kept it, and that's genuinely him. And if the beauty of it is that if you saw the first, we had to keep like the dialogue to a minimum in that scene because I've got like a minute and a half of him speaking before he went on camera, and it's just ramblings of a madman. So we had to keep it to one line. You find it. It would just, and then we even had to ADR it in after. You find
yeah,
it.
no.
That were it.
Well, then, but that's sort of the grail. That's your mentality when it comes to this, and to kind of tie this back to what we're talking about, which is you calling me and going, "Hey, man, so remember when I said about renting an RV and going to the United States?
Well, wait, wait,
Yeah,
wait, wait. Okay, so I think we need to dive into this. Before we do,
yeah,
we've got five. It's 5 minutes in. Some people have jumped into into the chat. Let's say
mhm,
hello. I'm going to share an Instagram, and then I want to know the story and then I want to get into this. I want to go deep, as Pigcake would say.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I
Go deep.
wish.
So shout out to the people in the chat so far. We got Pascal,
Right.
JRF Magic, King OK, Matt Dean, Stu Batman. Haven't seen Stu for ages. What's up, Stu? We got Matt, Alan Bordeaux, Johnny, Brandon Ellis, Audie. Everyone, get your questions ready. This is a special Sunday service live. We're talking all about the Kickstarter that Pete's running right now called the Psychic Survival Kit. You can go to it via tinyurl.com/PSK Turner. You've probably already seen it. We're going to do some fun things in the live stream today. We're going to try and break a little goal in the Kickstarter. And if we do, Pete has promised to teach us something incredible. I don't know what the trick is yet. He's going to perform it hopefully in a few minutes, Pete, if that's cool with you. And then if we break our goal, he's going to teach it at the end of this live stream completely for free to all of you. So I'm going to quickly film a little Instagram. How do I do this? There we go. I've just done a photo, a terrible photo. There we go.
I look like a bee.
That's like a chipmunk.
Even better. Even better. It's called engagement. They're like, oh, what are these guys doing?
So, guys, this is what it's all about. It's the Psychic Survival Kit. On Kickstarter, your first ever, like, proper big solo project. Safe to say, within the first few days, it's exploded. For a solo project, I'm pretty stunned. I need to know the origins, just as Pigcake was starting off. Like, most people, when they start off with a Kickstarter for like a deck of cards or a magic kit, they think about oh, what can we put in this thing to make money? Or what can we do to sell a deck of cards? You start off with an RV.
Yeah. Well, it's Peter. Peter is very particular when it comes to his sort of stuff, and he just doesn't want to go with the grain and do the standard. Here's an explanation. Here's a performance. So he had approached me a while before, and with the idea, and this is something that I think, Peter, you mentioned before about just these ramblings of different ideas for projects. Oh, what if we shoot a horror movie? What if we shoot this? Right? And one of the ideas that Peter had mentioned was renting an RV and going through the United States. And I don't think you knew for what yet, but the whole thing of this psychic theme came to fruition. And he told me, "Oh, I'm going to be in California. I'm taking care of some stuff. Let's just do the trip now. Let's just do the trip now." So he decided to pick what has to be the most prestigious RV place in the entirety of the United States, El Monte RV. And you decided to go through all the psychic hotspots in the United States from LA to Miami. And then he said, "Hey, man, why don't you come with me and film this?" So that's what my role in this. Obviously, the brain, everything, all the ideas, all the content is out of Peter's fantastic little brain. And mine was just this and dealing with the arduous task of going from, I believe, 4,000 miles from LA to Miami and filming what is the product of this kit, the Psychic Survival Kit that's now on Kickstarter. So you approached me and I couldn't believe it. And then we ended up doing it. So even when I was in the RV place and you were dealing with that guy that was telling you about the RV being in perfect condition and, oh no, the 18% oil life is going to work, I was still in shock that I'm like, okay, I can't believe we're actually going to go 4,000 miles from the West Coast to the East Coast. In the United States, it's not a small thing. It's not a small thing.
Dude, it's like literally the trip of a lifetime. When you're on your deathbed in 3 years time, Pigcake, and you're thinking about the moments that made your life. That's one of it. But the thing that hooks me as the complete like magic mentalist enthusiast is when you said, what was it? You're going through visiting the psychics across America.
Yeah.
So it goes. So let's go back a step before this, because I think it's important to realize that the big thing for me is whenever it's stuff like this is everything always starts as a ridiculous idea. So like when we're going back and I did like the Bigger Fish files, I didn't want to just do the all I'm going to do a performance and explanation. That's never really interested me. I love when everybody else does it, and I get that it's great for entertainment. You know, it's great for information that you're just watching this and getting that, and that's it. And some people really love that. But I wanted to make a TV show, and I was like, right, so I'm going to film a TV show with the tricks in it, and then I'm going to explain it afterwards. And it sort of started to take form like that. Then I did Jinxed 2, and when I did Jinxed 2, I wanted to interview Animan from Beyond the Grave. So I had somebody dressed up, like made up. We got the toupee and the makeup artists and everything, and we had them dressed up. And then I made it look like an old 1940s video where I had a dream and then I interview Animan, so that you're getting the teachings from Animan, right? And I've always been a little bit weird like that. And with my writings, the same. Like Attic Salt were a nod towards like the Brothers Grimm books, and it were written about fairy tales. And inside there, I actually wrote a couple of the effects up as children's effects, which are children's stories, because I'm right into like Roald Dahl and Enid Blyton and children's books. And so this whole psychic kit thing, I knew I wanted to travel across the coast, and the psychic project were one that I had planned for over a year. So it's very important to know that nothing that I do is ever just on a whim. It's not like I'm going to go and do this RV thing and I'm not going to know what I'm doing and I'm going to go. I've got 1,000 ideas, and I really sit and think about those ideas. I write them up, and then what happens is these ideas tend to come to fruition when I'm on a trip like that. So the idea was, okay, which one of these projects or which one of these write-ups fit the narrative of that the best? And when I take a look at where I want to travel from one side of America to the other side of America, it really made sense to visit these psychic hotspots, because the path that we chose happened to actually naturally fall along those points. So when you look at the likes of Sedona, you look at the likes of New Orleans, and I guess you could sort of say in itself that it were meant to be, like finding these little places, these crystal vortexes, and that's what they called them, not me, and these places that were doing these pendulum readings, and then traveling down to New Orleans and visiting the street psychics in New Orleans and the fair feelers and convincing them that I'm the real deal, and then going across to Memphis and Memphis is like a haven for black magic, and the people there are really superstitious. Then going up into Nashville and seeing that transformative approach to the way they think about that sort of stuff, and over to St. Augustine, which were like the first real town in America, or the first place in America, is steeped in such history that these places, they're all really interesting places just to look at, to sit. And really the idea, when you watch the documentary, that's a behind the scenes documentary, we share some of the things that we learned along the way. So in terms of getting into these secret societies, a lot of the times they didn't let you take cameras in. Like, we'd literally show you the flyers and we show you the entry boards and stuff like that, where it's saying no phones, no recording, 100% concentration required. And we were like, oh, I wonder why that is. So you can't document anything. But of course, we went in there and with two minds, like rebuilding everything that we'd witnessed. It made it really easy to sit and talk about after the fact, and some of the things that these people are doing. Like, I thought I knew a lot about psychics and mediumship, and I know a lot about how to make mentalism look like that. But it were a different world. It were really a different world, and it were eye-opening. And I think I did my due diligence, because I'm talking from that perspective. Whenever I'm talking on the set, I'm sharing techniques that they're using. And that's why I almost had a bit of a chuckle when somebody said to me, I've worked as a professional psychic. None of this stuff had ever be used by a psychic. And I'm like, well, I beg to differ. I've just done 4,000 miles visiting what are considered the best psychics in the entirety of America, in the towns that are steeped in such superstitions as that went from birth. And these are all using these techniques. And that were really what my results were at the back end of it,
Did you learn anything from those? I remember years and years and years ago, around about when we first met, me and you, Pete, and I called you and you were at home and you were watching, like studying psychic mediums on TV. And there was a guy from like the 70s or the 80s, and you were like, oh, this guy is the best. And you said to me
George
back
Anderson.
then, George Anderson. And you said to me back then, you said the problem with so many mentalists is that they try to be like other mentalists. Whereas if you really had psychic powers, these are the people that are pretending they have psychic powers, but these are the ones that are getting people to believe them. And you were, and it was, and I'm paraphrasing, but it was like, I remember thinking at the time, like, that's the right way to do it. Like, if you actually want to be a mentalist, why are you studying other mentalists who are doing like card tricks and whatever? You should be studying the people that are starting religions and cults, in a sense.
Well, you've hit the nail on the head with something there, and it's a very important point for us to make right on the front end, that this is a box that's aimed at magicians and mentalists. It's not aimed at people that want to be psychic or are psychic, but what we're doing is we're extrapolating techniques that are not used in magic and mentalism. Why not have those in your toolbox? Why fight to try to be perceived as credible, if that's what your goal is? I mean, if it's not, you can use it the other way, and I'll discuss that in a minute. But why fight to be perceived as credible when these people literally sit down and just say, "Oh, I give readings," and they'll say 2 sentences and be believed. You'll go in there, guess 50 names, unlock someone's passcode, guess their pin code, and they'll go, "Nice, nice," you know.
Boom.
And it's like, and it was just unbelievable to see the difference in, the makeup. I've said it on another interview somewhere, but just that you look at these two, and these are the exact same thing. The two pieces of card, right? They're exactly the same thing. They're exactly the same thing on the faces to us. But you bring this out in a performance, and what somebody says is, "Oh, shows a trick." You bring this out in a performance, and all of a sudden you've got people going, "You could tell my fortune. You know what's going to happen in my life." And just the makeup, the genetic makeup, I say genetic, not really genetic, but the print on that piece of card that's the same size, the same stock, totally changes the way that somebody acts and perceives you, right? And it's wild that you don't even have to be part of that process. That's what their brain's done before you've ever opened your mouth, right? So think about that. Before you even open your mouth, they are already believing you just because a printer changed the ink on the card.
It's like because the tools that you've brought with you, they garner more respect before you step foot in the door, really. And that's kind of what's interesting about this kit, is that everything in there is designed for someone. There's nothing stupid in there, nothing that could be taken as a jokey, quick show us a trick like you're talking about.
But there are those in there. There are those in there, though, Lloyd. That's the thing. The one thing that we've tried to do is go, right, if we had 10 seconds to do something, what could we do? And if you don't have cards, if you don't want to do a proper piece of mentalism, what one sentence can you say to make it seem like that you know these things about them, right? And they'll always walk away and believe that you knew. So I've done a full section on how I talk when I'm performing. And I make out when I'm giving readings or I'm just giving a mentalism performance, like I know something that I don't. And that person always believes that you know something that you don't, right? So without doing a trick. So you're getting credit for doing something that takes less time than a trick, and you're believed more than if you showed them a trick, right? So that was the beauty of it. That's what the idea was. I came up with like the universal answer. It's like, imagine you're doing question. If you don't know what question and answers is, question and answers were an old act, a vaudevillian parlor act that were often done by mentalists, but they were inspired by psychics. And psychics used fish bowls and prayer cards. And you'd write down a question that you wanted an answer to from your life. And then by some divine intervention, the medium, or the oracle, as they called the medium back then, had stand there, close their eyes, wave their hand about and answer that question, having never touched it and never looked at it, right? And I thought, well, wait a minute. Is there not a universal answer? So I came up with what I believe is the greatest universal answer. So if you find yourself in a situation where somebody won't write something down, won't tell you what it is that they're thinking, won't participate in dropping it into a ball, or somebody just stands up in the middle of a Q&A act and says, well, what about me? You now have the definitive answer to be able to quickly give them an answer that makes them believe and feel that you know exactly what question they were going to ask, and it perfectly answers the question. And we also then looked back at like the universal drawing from Banachek, which were like in psychological subtleties. It's like if there this old drawing, and it really didn't look like anything, it looked like a circle and a triangle. But I've investigated that. Like, is there a way that if I asked somebody to make a drawing, that I could make a drawing on a piece of paper and it match like 80 to 90% of the time without having to know what they've drawn in advance? And so I've done full deep dives and discussions on the project about that stuff. So even without actually using a trick, without having time to, if you don't have a prop, how to do this when you don't have props, there's a piece on there where if you're nervous about performing, you sit in silence for a minute and you don't say a word, and the people just start crying, and they're like, and they're blown away by, yeah, it's unbelievable, because a lot of people have things that they want to get off their chest that they just feel that they can't, right? They want to say things, they want to ask questions, they can't tell their closest friends, they can't say out loud. So this dips into the hypnotic world almost, but you don't need to know about hypnosis. You don't need to, it doesn't need to be a serious performance, and you literally sit and you stare at each other for a minute, and at the end of it, they're thanking you and they're hugging you and they're in tears because they feel that they've let go of something that they couldn't have let go of before. And the Vox Pop in the video, she says, I've let go of something that's taken me 15 years to let go of. Like, but the performances don't need to be that serious. Like, if you're not a serious performer, I talk about, look, This is how you can do this as though you were debunking this. This is how you can show this from the perspective of somebody who's delivering this psychologically. This is how you do this as the perspective of somebody that's a magician just wanting to add a little bit into their set.
That's kind of what you gave to me years ago when we first met. It was your star sign effect, the anagram, and you taught it to me. We sat down, I sat down, and learned it with you, and then I was going out just doing card stuff and coin stuff and whatever, and I was just sprinkling that in, just throwing in one thing that I'd learned from you. And to this day, and anyone that listens to like my podcast or whatever I do, to this day, I always say like I literally do that every single performance because it's still like the highlight of almost everything I do is like, okay, that was some good magic, those were some good tricks. How the did you know my star sign? And it's like,
We have a better version of that in this, the newest version, a
okay,
better
wait,
version.
wait. I want to get into the tricks and some of the stuff in a minute, just to show everyone though what we're talking about. If you haven't gone to the link, if you can't take your eyes off our beautiful faces, this is the Kickstarter. You can see it on screen right now. And let me just go to Safari. I'm gonna play the trailer kind of quietly in the background here. Some of the reactions in this trailer, guys, are, I mean, I'm not shocked by the reactions that you're getting because I always see you get these reactions. But this is the type of stuff that other magicians would dream of getting. If they could go, like, I've seen magicians perform for 20, 30, 40 years and they get polite rounds of applause or friends humoring them. And yet you go out and hit the streets, and people sometimes say, oh, it's like the Peter Turner effect because it's the way Pete performs and no one else can do it. Yeah, I've seen you teach these methods to other people, and this, like, even to an idiot like me who doesn't do mentalism, I go off and I do one tiny thing of yours, and it's the thing that people say, oh, that's the best thing ever. How did you do that? All those things are tricks, but that thing was real.
Well, I
And
wanted to, because Peter hankered on something that I think is very, very important, which is that one of the things that I've seen that is somewhat of a criticism of this project is that idea of using a psychic bent and using that as sort of the pattern. Because at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's the pattern for the vehicle of the effect of what are traditional mentalism, right? And you really hit the nail on the head there when you mentioned that, well, you could present it in whatever way you want. You don't have to present it as if these are genuine psychic powers. You could present it as you are somebody who's interested in this world. You spent a lot of time learning the methods and going through the actual psychics. You know, Peter did, but you don't have to. You can make it up or whatever. And that's your bend. You could come in as a debunker. You could come in as saying that this is how they make it look so real that you can't differentiate the difference between a trick and this. And this is how they could take advantage. And I guess Peter could talk in a little bit more detail because, again, one of the criticisms here is that we're using psychic. But look at what Darren was criticized about, which is essentially lying about using physiological means to read somebody, right?
yeah,
That's just pattern. That's his presentation for what is traditional mentalism effects. So here we're just using, or rather Peter, I'm again the camera guy here, but he's using these traditional means and using a psychic bent, which allows you to have less work methodologically, less effort in the method base and more reaction. So you're doing less work, you're getting more reaction, and it becomes a little bit more visceral than just doing a standard trick. And again, look at the difference. The difference is from one to another. You have a playing card, you have a tarot card, yet one evokes feelings without you having to do anything. It's the classic hypnosis bit where 80% of the work is done in advertisement. The moment you're advertised as a hypnotist, that's it. If the belief is there, you're advertised as a hypnotist, they're paying to see you perform, your work is essentially done because all you have to do is just present it because the belief alone is enough to drive the vehicle. Same thing with these. Just the belief alone in the crystal is enough to drive the vehicle of the person not being able to let go of it. And where you have to do more effort when using maybe traditional techniques like using a hypnotic method of doing lift, for example, or stuck, where their hands stuck on the table and you're relying on, just their belief alone. Here, you could invoke the crystal, you could invoke the card, you can invoke the other props that are included in the kit. So it's just a very important point just to drive home about the presentation is ultimately up to you. What you're providing in this kit are the tools and showing you that it does work in the real world, showing you, look, we're at a bar and we're doing these tricks that involve these sometimes heavy topics. We're in the street and we're showing you this. We're in an office. We're in, these environments that usually are not conducive to psychic-like pattern. And yet here they are, they're presented, and you can see that they get genuine reactions.
I think that's what's most interesting to me, is because I don't find myself often in environments that are like, I don't do gigs, for example, right? So when you go, if you're a gigging magician, you go somewhere and people expect you to do magic. This kind of like sets the scene for you in a sense, where I will go to the local coffee shop. No one's expecting to see a display of psychic ability there. They're probably out to walk their dog, get a drink, and go on. And that aspect of being able to have a set of material that I can just do anytime, anywhere, without making it feel like I'm burdening them with like, what I want to show them. That's the type of stuff, to me, that's the gold dust. That's the stuff that's between the lines, that you can't just pick up in a typical magic set, Or
Yeah, which is
Well, the coffee shop, the coffee shop's perfect because you've got so much stuff there that you can use. And we talk about that. What better place let's say you wanted to get into the reading in a big way, what better place to do a tea leaf reading, right? But we talk about it from the approach of a magician. It's like, I'm not going to say too much about it, but wouldn't it be interesting if, for example, you could take somebody's water and ask one person to think of something, you sprinkle the tea leaves in and they stir it, and then on the surface of the water you can see the revelation of the thing that somebody else is thinking, right? But it's like these little things and these little environments. And I know people are going to probably think that we told you to say coffee shop just so I could bring that up, but I didn't know you were going to ask that question.
No,
right?
It's just because I don't socialize anymore, so I just go
but it's perfect. Look, this is the thing: is you're sat with this stuff, and people are naturally curious, so they find their way into your world. You're not trying to fight your way into theirs. And that's what's really different, right? It's different to anything else that I've ever done before. I've seen, you could be sat messing with a deck of cards and somebody goes, show me a trick, magic boy. You know what I mean? Like, or you could be sat there and somebody comes over and, oh, what's this that you're messing with? And they want to talk to you. They want to strike up a conversation. They want to see what it is that you're doing. And whether you're talking to them about just deep diving, discovering this stuff, you're taking a psychological approach to it, whether you're talking about that you're a magician that's wanting to look at this type of stuff, whether you're saying out and out, I'm learning to give readings, I'm trying new things out. Do you know what I mean? I just think that idea of somebody walking up to you and striking up a conversation is interesting in itself, because it sidesteps the ability or the need to have to invoke abilities to be able to approach people, right? And that's something that's really important with this stuff. What I've gone for is to try to make it as easy as possible, as understandable as possible, and the real beauty, the difference between this, and Pigcake again hit the nail on the head, psychics are actually doing less than mentalists are. They're removing steps from the procedures that mentalists are doing, and yet they're getting greater reactions. So it's like, why wouldn't we want a bit of that? Do you know what I mean? Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we want a piece of that? And afterwards, when we told people that this is a trick, they were going, "Nope, this is not a trick." And you're like, "Okay."
Let them believe what they want. Well, look, we got a bunch of comments in here, guys. We got Jeremy Bradshaw, we got Steve Zip, Ion. I want to get some questions. Michael Delaney, Fred the Wheelchair Guy. I want to get into some questions, but first, I popped up the pledge on screen, right? Because you agreed to do this. We're currently at £58,000. I don't know if this is going to happen or not. But
well, let's rounding it up. Let's just rounding it up. So let's go for 60.
Charlie Hewish, what's up? So look, Pete's going to perform a trick right now on me. I don't know what the trick's going to be, but it's going to be a performance of a trick.
What do you want? You tell me. Do you want to see? Do you want to anything that you've ever seen me perform before? Anything that you've heard me talk about before? Is there anything you want to see from this box? I mean, you can ask me all, and I'll try my best to.
I am a little whore for ACAANs, and you do the best ACAANs in the world. And every time I see you, it's a new version or a new variation, and I want to see the 2025 Pete Turner. Yeah, an ACAAN. It doesn't matter if it fools me or not. But I probably will be fooled. But here's the deal. Here's the deal, everyone. You can see the pledge amount on screen. We're at £58,842. Pete, you've agreed that
go there, rounding it up for us, and then
if you guys get that pledge to 60,000, so another £1,200, call it 1,150 quid, then Pete is gonna teach whatever trick we're about to see right now. Are you guys down for that? Are you guys up for that? That's basically because you give me 10 of you.
You give me the hardest challenge, but I'll go for it. So,
okay,
shuffle them as much as you want.
Does it matter if it's not a full deck?
it might make a difference, but we'll give it a go. Shuffle them as much as you want. There's one thing that's really important.
Here we go. This is live magic, live mentalism. I get more nervous than other people. Sorry, Pete. Okay.
You're already breaking the first rule, Lloyd, and that's showing me the top and bottom card, right? So the thing that's important here is just mix these beyond any recognizable pattern. So if anybody thinks these are stacked or anybody thinks there's a particular order I could have known in advance, feel free to remove that order. You can overhand shuffle, riffle, shuffle, do whatever you want. Now, whenever I do this, one thing that people say in the comments is that it's just luck. So I'm going to prove to you undoubtedly that it's not just luck. Okay. So I want you to think of a playing card for me. It could be any one you want. And I'll think of a number. See, now what's really interesting is if I ask you to deal to that card, deal to that number, the chances are that card's not going to be there, right? One thing that I know about humans, though, did you go for a number in the 20s?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. 23?
Yeah. What the fuck?
And they're genuinely going to think that we set that up, right? But what card were you thinking of?
I was going for 6 clubs.
6 of clubs. So I want to prove that this is not just luck. So go deal through the cards one at a time to 23. If you want to change your mind on the number because I guessed it, feel free to change your mind on the number if they feel that maybe this is...
Can I shuffle them again?
You can shuffle however much you want. It really doesn't make a difference.
Oh, okay. I just dropped some. Don't worry with this. Okay, I'm not even going to...
It doesn't matter. So
okay.
Show us the cards.
23.
Yeah, just...
Okay.
It's not just luck. Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Stop there. Stop. So are we seeing it so far?
No.
So keep going.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Stop. Still not seeing it, right?
No.
21.
21, 22.
And 23.
23.
Oh, it's a 6 of hearts. But look, you can see it's not there. It's not just luck, right?
Yeah.
Genuinely not just luck. But we're going to do this, and we're going to do this together. So just hold on to the cards like this. Okay. Right. I'm not going to move. I'm not going to do anything. What I want you to do for right now is just think in your head of a number from 1 to 52. So just burn that number into the back of your mind.
Okay. And
now what I want you to do is think of any card in the deck. So don't limit yourself to say just a 7 because you think everybody would go for it, but think of any card in the deck. Tell me when you've got a value.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if I asked you right now, don't think about this, just red or black. Just say it. Don't think. What color? Red or black?
Red.
Okay, so we got heart or diamond. Just quickly. Don't even think about it. Just say it.
Heart.
Hearts. Okay. So red, hearts. And I said you could have any card in the deck. Now, I'm going to ask you, what's the value of the card you're thinking of?
King.
King of hearts. So right now, I don't want you to do anything else. Don't worry about doing anything else. Don't ask me anything. Just start to deal the cards face down one at a time. Don't say a word. Just deal.
Onto the table.
Onto the table. Just deal. Just do what you
so
think.
Strange. I feel like something's...
Deal. Don't talk. Just go. Deal. Don't think about it. Just go. And you can stop whenever you want.
Yeah.
There. Now, you thought of a number from 1 to 52 that you burnt in at the back of your head. There's no way I could have known what number you were going to deal down to.
No.
There's no way I could have known you just said red. There's no way I could have known you just said heart. There's no way I could have known that this would be the card that we stopped at. Let's have a look where it is.
I really don't want to. I don't... Oh, fuck me.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, there we go. I'll teach you how to do that. It's nice and easy.
I feel like I know the hearts bit, right? I feel like when you were like, name a color, right? Obviously, like we know, like it's like this equivoke exists and things, and I feel like you did this, and I almost couldn't not say hearts.
No, it's not that. I wish it were that. I wish it the influence wise that there was a decision like that, but no.
Was that blind? Okay, so was that blind luck before people start pledging?
No, not blind luck. There's a technique. There's a lot easy. It's a lot easier than you think it is. There's one bit of it that I'd have had to change there. The rest of it's pretty much screwed on. I might have had to change one bit. I didn't. I'm like pushing. I'm pushing, but yeah, like I said, if it reaches that number, then I'll.
Okay, and there's a bit that I think.
Percolating,
Oh,
percolating.
I'm percolating. Okay, I think I know. I think I know the number bit. I think I got that in my head now. This is insane. Okay,
The
right.
number,
Listen to me, guys.
the number bit's genius. The number bit is not to like toot me on, but what I love that, I love the idea of it. It really genuinely was a free choice. Everything that you did there was a free choice, but were well within my control at all points. Right, that's all I'll say.
Okay, yeah, like it was a free choice. I mean, these guys are gonna learn the method, right? I hope.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm
So
just saying what I felt. Like I felt like, oh, it was so strange. Like when you did this.
yeah, it's nothing to do with that.
Okay, so we're at
Nothing to do with that.
58,842. If you want to learn this ACAAN, which is pretty much the perfect ACAAN, it feels like.
Yeah, there's compromises. I mean, there's a little bit that's work there, but I will show you a workaround for
There
that.
are questions coming. Someone says, like, what about the first selection? Well, the first selection
But just to
wasn't
show
right.
you it wasn't luck. Yeah, just
Yeah,
to
it
show
didn't.
the idea with the first one is there. Look, no, it's not about it not hitting. It's shuffle them, name a card, name a number. It's never going to be there. But now, together, both of us working together, it's going to be there every single time. So it's like turning a switch on. So, for example, if you said to somebody, if I held up a
Fuck.
yeah, if I held a card up, like if I held a card up and said, try to guess what it is, and you didn't, and then hold another one up, try to guess what it is, and you didn't,
Okay.
and then I said, right, now I'm going to influence you and show you I can do this every time. And then the third one you hold up and you say, bam, what is it? And then they do. There's proof there that it's not just guesswork. That's basically what that first bit is. And ultimately, that first bit doesn't really need to be what it is. It's there. It serves a purpose, but in the real world, if you
This
were
is
in,
the type of stuff that you are unleashing in the psychic survival kit.
it's
Basically,
I
the
easy.
type.
The stuff in the psychic survival kit is. I mean, we love ACAAN as magicians. Do you know what I mean? Of course we do. But I'm all down for like I said to Pigcake before, like, look, these techniques, these are very easy to learn, but they look difficult. Do you know what I mean? They look difficult, and there's some byplay, But if you're watching it and what you saw is somebody think of a card, think of a number, and then deal down, that's the truth, but it's not the truth. It happened, but not in that order, and that's what makes it interesting. I don't want to go into too much. I
Yeah,
will.
no. Well, Johnny MB is asking, but the first selection to prove that it is random is part of the method, right? Well, Johnny, go and pledge right now. Go to tinyurl.com/PSK Turner or go to Kickstarter and type in the Psychic Survival Kit.
So just to say something to Johnny, and then this is very important, Lloyd. These are your followers. There's nothing to do with me. I didn't even know you were going to pick ACAN. If you'd have said to me, "Show me a psychological force with playing cards," that I showed you that. If you'd have said to me, "Show me
Yeah.
the Astro card or 21 with the tarot cards," that I showed you that. So the point is that
I was actually torn between an ESP type effect and an ACAN, but I just know my viewers love ACAN.
I mean, yeah. So that's that. Let's say we're an ESP effect, and everybody can do this that's watching at home at the same time. But to do this, you've got to know what the ESP symbols are, right? So I'm going to tell you where this would differ for magicians to real people. But Lloyd, you do this at the same time. Pigcake, you do
real
this at
people.
the same time. Yeah, no, I'm saying magicians, we differ in one way, and I'll tell you what that one way is. But all the people watching this, let's imagine you're holding a set of ESP cards. And I'd always put mine down first. So let's say I place one down on the table and I ask you to look across them. And let's say that you've never seen these cards before. Some of them you'll recognize the symbols already. They'll feel fresh, brand new. Other ones you won't recognize. So I want you to take one out that you recognize as your favorite and then place that face down. But don't tell me what it is. And all in your head, if you want to write this down, you can commit to what you put in position number one. Okay, so now I want you to look back over them. And I want you to take out one that you don't recognize. It just feels like it doesn't gel with the rest of them. So now you've got two. Put that in position number two. And now what I want you to do is think of a simple drawing like a ball or the sun or a stick man. But obviously don't go for those things. So just get an image inside your head. And then think about the shape of that image. And whichever card you've got left in your hand closest represents that, take it out and put it down. So now you've got one in position one, you've got one in position two, and you've got one in position three. I don't know what these are, but all you got to do is remember them, right? And again, if I had ESP cards, I'd be doing it with the cards. That leaves you with two. you were given at the beginning shapes and designs, and obviously the designs are like the waves, the plus, and the waves and the plus. If you've got a design left, put that down now, and that should leave you with one in your hand. Now, if you've followed me, you should have a circle in your hand, right? That will be the one that you have left, right? The one in the first position, the very first position, and this is where it differs between lay people and magicians. You should have put a star down for number one, but magicians put the waves down normally for number one, so they're the opposite way around. But it'd be star,
I thought
yeah,
star.
and then you should have gone for the waves second.
Yeah, yeah. Ill.
You should be on you should have been on a house or something that was square for number three, then the plus, and then the circle, and that's a psychological version of ESP. Mix that with marked tarot cards, and you can watch them put them down, and you ask one simple, beautiful question. I'm giving you a method here because you asked for one. Is let's say you've done this with marked ESP cards, and you put yours down first, and they put theirs down afterwards. If you notice that a couple are out of order, how do you mix them up without seeming weird? You say, would you like to change the order of any of yours? Let's say they're out and they go, no. And you go, do you know what? I felt you were going to. So I put mine down in a different order. I'm going to put them back to where I'd originally put them now. And it gives you the ability to rearrange yours. If they rearrange theirs, you look at the markings and go, I didn't think you'd rearrange yours. So now I'm going to rearrange it for your mind to try to match your decision. So you're still getting a hit no matter what, but you're getting the cleanest psychological version out of the gate. And also, if you take a UV pen and you write the word house on the back of the cards, HOUSE, because there's 5 of them, and you ask them what image did you go for, and they also coincidentally say a house, you can now shine the UV pen across the backs of these and it'll say house as well, and you get a revelation of a kicker on the back end. So there's an ESP effect. It's nice and easy. It's psychological. If you went for that order in the comments, let me know. Like I say, it doesn't matter in the real world because you're using marked cards and you can rearrange them. But all these techniques are nice and easy. You know, they're not. I mean, that just requires you learning a bit of language. That's it. But the stuff in the psychic survival kit is not that. It's the props that do the work for you, right? So you're not having to pin it on a hope of I'm doing this psychological technique. The props are literally doing the work, right? And that's what makes it different from a lot.
Yeah, this is what I want to get into then. So Matt, is there a contents of tricks in the psychic survival kit? And then obviously there's a catalog of props that they get with it too. So can you kind of break down what the effect list is roughly, and then B, what are they actually physically getting in their hands?
Okay, so the way the kit works, and it's important that I caveat with this, and I'll try to be as clean cut with this as possible, because I had a couple of questions about this come to my email afterwards from something where I talked about this before. But instead of this having a tier system, so those who have more money get better like tiers, I don't want it to be like that. I want it to be a community-backed project. The more people that bid together as a community, the better I'm going to aim to make the kit. Now, you might turn around and say, well, what do you mean by that? Having the resources to be able to do more in R&D and more research and development and get more engineers involved and more people that can help build the dreams that I've got for this kit, that's only possible if the amount is right. So we still don't know exactly what it's going to cost to produce the boxes. We've got an estimate of just the boxes, but we don't know how many backers there are. We don't know how much it's. So the more that's in there, the more that's in the pot gives me more time to develop more. But as it stands, there's probably about 50 tricks in there. But that doesn't mean that you're going to be overwhelmed with 50 tricks. It's not like, oh God, I've got to learn 50 tricks. It's not like that. There's 50 effects in there. Some of them are just simple sentences. Other things are ideas that you might have seen before, but redressed. So for example, I talk in depth about 21. Now, there's this really interesting trick that I discovered by Robert A. Nelson from years ago, and I didn't like the procedure in it, so I cut it down, I changed some of the language, I put my own slant on it, and then I released it, and it was like an update of what I call the 21 card trick, right? It doesn't have the same method as the 21 card trick. It just, for me, that was the inspiration behind my spin and my updates on it. But procedurally, it were always a little bit weird, because you're saying to them, right, I want you to deal out 2 packets of cards, one for you and one for me, which in itself doesn't really seem weird. But when you look at it, it's like, why is this second packet existing? Well, it's existing because it facilitates the method. So ultimately, no matter how presentation driven that effect is, the method is the thing that's driving you having 2 packets. Whereas with tarot cards, by simply saying, you're going to deal down 2 packets of cards. One's going to represent your past and one's going to represent your present. And all you've got to decide is, do you want a reading about your past or your present? And you'll let me know by just picking some cards up from either of those packets. So a lot of these weird procedures, I talk about how you can take effects you already know today, that you've already learnt today, and go out and start doing them now. You can literally go out and start doing them now, because it's learning that new philosophy. That's all you need to learn, of how to address this and just how to change the titles of certain things. So
Wow.
there's tarot effects in there that are based off old card ideas. There's single card readings. There's Q&A tarot style routines. If you're not interested in the tarot, there's ways to get them to read and guess what you're thinking of. They used when they say they use as an oracle. That's true. Like, they're good for as a springboard to be able to give a reading. But the beauty of these, and I don't know if you can see this. I don't know what you can see there, but you'll notice that there's a QR code that's baked into that corner and this corner as well. And what that allows, I mean,
It doesn't even look like a QR code.
no, not really. But even if you spot it, it doesn't matter, and I'll explain why. Somebody can take. You could take your phone and you could say, "Do you mind if I just take a
2
photograph?"
seconds. Jean Carrion, I hope I'm not mispronouncing the name, is asking, do you have an idea of when this will ship? When you'll be able to ship?
So we're aiming to get it out before Christmas, but and this is where the book comes in, is we do not right now. We don't know what's happening in the world in terms of all these. We're trying to cut the import fees down. So the way we're doing that is Pigcake will be taking a portion in America, I'll take a portion in England, I'll have a friend of mine take a portion in Europe. So those places, you're not having to pay any import duties because it'll be posted in-house. So as soon as we get it, you'll get it. As long as it is what it said it is and there's no problems with production, you'll get it as soon as we get it. But one thing that I won't put up with and I won't stand for is I'm not going to stand for defects in any way, shape or form. You know, when I worked with Illusionist, and I don't mind saying this, is I've always had this common criticism. Lloyd, you worked with me at the time, and you'll remember me kicking off about this, is the plastic ESP cards. I didn't like them. They came, I were backed into a corner, and because they were see-through, I had to go and make a new trick up because they were see-through so that they could be included in the kit, so we didn't have to send them back and cause like a minor delay in shipping. I'd have rather given those out for free and promised customers off my own pocket an extra set of ESP cards that were paper stock. But it's like, if there is something like that happens, or there's something I don't like about it, I'm going to be the first person as a community to stand up for that and say, look, there's a minor delay of 2 weeks. Do you know what I mean? Or there's a minor delay.
That's one thing I've always respected massively about you, is that you don't half-ass anything. Like, even the posters in the background of your adventure across America and the Grail project, like, these little things you do for everything that you put out when you have full final edit on stuff, is the extra tiny mile that you just don't see it anywhere else. You know, like, I know I'm referring to the 2 posters behind Pete. They are not random film posters. They are actually posters of the adventure. Is that one from the Psychic Survival Kit?
So this one's, yeah, In Search of the Sensational. That's the documentary. You see the El Monte RV, and then there's Pigcake and me up at the top. And we went for the cheesy 80s line at the top. It says, some roads you choose, others choose you. It's the tackiest 80s line ever, but it's cool. But that's what I'm saying, is like, so I can never predict what is going to be happening. The estimation is to try to get this out for Christmas. That's the aim. It'd be amazing for us to get them to you for Christmas. And if that's going to happen, it's going to happen. If something happens in between, then we're updating you every step of the way. It's not going to be one of these where we send out an email and say, oh, it's been delayed 80 days. Now it's been delayed a further 20 days. Now it's been delayed another 50. We're not going to be doing that. We'll be making videos. We'll be doing posts and updates, community posts, so that you can keep track of everything. And this is our project, and I don't mean like mine and Pigcake's, it's our project. You know what I mean? This is the first time that there's no company involved in the creative process of this.
Well, actually, there's a question that came in earlier. I'm trying to look back through the questions, and it says, let me just find if I can read it word for word to you.
I found here.
Joni MB says, yeah, in the trailer you said that you weren't free doing your stuff with those big companies. Do you have an example? So do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
I put the spider pen in there. Look at that. What mentalism kit in existence would put? I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on here, but
you can say whatever the fuck you want.
Right. What fucking self-respecting mentalist had put a plastic pen with a plastic spider on a piece of fishing line inside a fucking mind reading box?
Yeah, it's pretty
Like,
humiliating.
it was disgusting. It was disgusting. And do you know what? Like, I'm not saying bad things about Illusionist because it were a collaborative effort, and they told me that that's what people wanted. So if that's what people wanted, and I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but not. But that's not going to go in my mind reading kit, right? It's not going to go in my mind reading box. I don't want that. Like, and then having
Wait, you're
to.
telling me you don't want a scary, spooky spider jumping out of a pen to go, whoa?
But that's it. Like the plastic ESP cards in the first kit, like, don't get me wrong. And like, look, there's times that I've eaten my own words. So, for example, when we worked on fraud, the credit card, like we backwards and forwards, and I said, look, let's add this revelation, let's try this binary principle with this, and I always thought it were a little bit of a throwaway small thing that people won't enjoy. I wouldn't have personally. I'd have picked it to go in there, but I wouldn't have said it with a flagship product inside there. And I actually found that a lot of people like that. And if the spider pen had been in a similar vein, I'd have taken that on the chin and I'd have said, okay, right.
I think it's the fact that, like, at least with fraud, it fitted with mentalism.
Your wallet, yeah, and it fit in your wallet, and also that were a collaboration between people that knew what people wanted. But that spider pen were invented as a joke. So then for me to have to sit seriously for an hour and explain about how to get someone to think of a spider and why this pen's a good thing, and like I'm contractually obliged to do that whilst wearing a How to Read Minds 2 t-shirt, do you know what I mean, dressed up like a Ken doll, that's a different thing. There's a lot of this stuff that people don't realize, though. It's like
well, it's a great thing to mention too, that also one of the things that facilitates about this being a solo project, quote unquote, is that then also a good benefit of doing this on Kickstarter is that the more that we are able to get in the campaign as a whole, the better it gets for the people that have backed it without any additional funds on their end. So if we reach certain limits, or if we get to a certain point that we could improve things that are already included in the kit, that's going to be something that's going to be beneficial to the backers. So one of the other things that you have in there as well is the card holder, right? And the card holder is something that a lot of people have had questions about, because it's a wonderful way for you to justify the use of billets in performance. You're not having to remove just blank piece of paper. Now they have a reason for existing. They're sketch pads, right? And if we make a certain amount, we'll be able to add features to that. Features like things that are integrated. Out to lunch might be one of the things that you add. Same thing with the crystals. The crystals that are included, they could be enhanced if we reach certain funding goals. And ordinarily on Kickstarter, they're called stretch goals, where they're there set in place if we reach this amount. But for us, it's just what we're allowed to play with in this space based on the overall campaign that we get. So that's why we're trying to get this.
It's very important to jump off the back of that.
Yeah.
The routines that are involving the crystals are banging routines.
Yeah, they're great already. They're phenomenal.
If they went out exactly as they are, I'd still be so proud, because the routines, like, even just taking old ideas like the Quran move, and using like the Quran move with them, or using Karasuki, or even hypno stuff. People are scared of trying hypnosis style stuff out. But the beauty is that if people are already believing in the powers of these crystals and that they can heal people, then the crystal's done the work for you. So all they have to do is hold on to it, and they won't be able to let go of it, right? That's the fact. Like, I've seen it. The percentage rating of that goes up exponentially just because of that one little fact. Mm-hmm. But take the billet holder. Like, the billet holder is designed beautifully to hold your business cards, billets, blank pieces of cardstock to justify them in performance. Pigcake saying that the feature of Out to Lunch on there, I do talk about using how to make that without having to cut it or adjust it into an Out to Lunch pad in seconds. So you have an impromptu version of Out to Lunch that's there, but it'd be really nice to have a custom made little band that goes around the outside of it that fits on there, that has like a lip or an overlap. And if you don't know what Out to Lunch is, you'll know what the benefit of having two overlapping bands are, right? But that means that we've got to have it double stitch. We've got to have like two rivets, and it's got to be done twice without splitting. And that's not saying it's hard to do, it's not. And it's not going to be a massive difference on the cost. But to add to that an impression device, which we talk about impromptu impressions, and peaks and switches and other things. But add to that, you've got it all in one place. And I'd love to spend another 2 or 3 weeks just messing about with that pad and seeing if I can get it manufactured. That's the thing with this stuff. The box itself, was so hard to find somebody that had manufactured that. And when you think about it, what it is, it's a box inside a box, and then that slots over the top of a box. It's a Q&A box. But just finding somebody that had mill out a coin slot into the top of it, and then because it's got to be, the design's got to be folded in a very specific way so that it doesn't tear, it doesn't rip. And that in itself, we're like trying to find somebody to do that were a difficult thing. Trying to find somebody that had mounted the box underneath but wouldn't connect one end, and then we've got to send them to somebody else. So then we've got like a, and right now the options that we've got are like short stop damped Velcro or like press studs or click studs. We want to spend a bit more time looking at the right person to do that. And we found the people to make the boxes. We've got contacts on the people that can definitely put a stud on there, can definitely put a piece of Velcro on there, can definitely make it into that. But it'd be really nice to go, right, okay, well, what else can we add to this? Do you know what I mean? Like, and that, and R&D and time to put into that is, it's been so costly, Lloyd, like unbelievably so. Already before the Kickstarter, like it's cost an arm and a leg to get to that point. Do you know what I mean? And that's
One thing I can speak on, at least from like being an insider's point of view, because I was part of 3 kits, I think, or at least 4 Kickstarters when I was at E, is that I'm assuming this is right when I'm speaking to you about this, but you don't have a you don't necessarily have a budget where it's like, okay, guys, we got to make this kit. It can't cost any more than $15 in total. And so we got to get everything as cheap as possible. Doesn't matter if the cards are see-through. Doesn't matter if there's a fucking spider inside a pen. This is the limit, and that's what they get in. Whereas, like I said, everything you do, you took this RV across one side of America to the other because it was right for the story. It was right for the kit. You have custom artwork made, which adds an expense to all these things, and the kit is actually really, really like so
Lloyd, we
ridiculously
bought.
well
Listen,
priced.
we bought cinema cameras for the kit. We went out and I had a full studio renovation, like so that I could do. And we were ultimately built for this. It was supposed to be done a year before in a different way. I had a full studio renovation to do that. Full lights. When I went to America, I had to buy all the equipment. So instead of flying it over, I was buying gimbals and lights. The RV itself was 6 grand. Right, so when you take into account that it's probably another 2 grand in fuel, then food across the way, then there's flights backwards and forwards for Pigcake and I, and then whenever we're filming here, we need to get locations. We're paying for those locations if we're going into them. Parking for a day in places like London's over £100 per day. Then there's the hotels that you're staying at in these places when we're traveling and filming. You know, it all adds up. And then by the time we bought the props ourselves, I will literally, and I've got footage of this, and I don't know where I'm going to stitch this in, but I will stitch it in somewhere. Is I'm literally sat in the back of an RV with a sewing kit, and this is no word of a joke, making the velvet bags on the road. I'm literally handcrafting the bags because you can't buy them. So I'm handcrafting these bags to the specific specifications. I've made a lot of the props myself, and I've gone out, and if I couldn't make them, I found people that have been able to 3D print, or found people that have been able to do jobs for me. And it doesn't sound like much, but when you're paying, so let's say that Pigcake's not available, you know, a camera guy to come along is anywhere up to £200 a day. So you do 5 days of filming just simple explanations where somebody just needs to press start or stop, and you're in at £1,000 for that, you know, for that
Yeah.
5 days. And it's like, and it adds up. We've been doing this since February. It adds
I'm
up.
just I'm literally just looking at the cost of the kit, especially for like the early bird. There's 2 things that stand out to me here. The early bird price is $135. Am I reading that correct, or am I
Oh, that's
how
right.
$135 for
And
the early bird?
you get the book in there, you get all the video files inside there, you get the gimmicked bag that's inside there, you get the Astro card in there, you get the Destiny card inside there, you get the marked tarot cards that are like speed reader marked and QR marked. You get the pendulum in there with the little bottle pendulum. That's what we're looking at. You get the crystals inside there. You get, you know, everything's
How have you got that? Like I know that the cost of goods. I without you telling me anything, because I don't know what it is.
and that's a
I
custom
don't think
design
you're
box.
breaking even very much on that $135 early bird one.
There's well,
Realistically,
we don't know yet. That's what we're saying. So
that's crazy, man. That is
we
actually
just
like
yeah we're just
130.
taking a chance. And
Guys,
bearing in
I don't know how
mind,
many early birds places are left, but if you're watching this now, go and back the early bird special because I don't know. There's 193 backers for that. I'm guessing it's set to 200. Is it?
Well, that's going to go on for a couple. It's going to go on for a couple more days. The early bird special,
Okay. Oh, so
and
it's on time. Holy
yeah,
shit!
yeah.
So you
but
can get
not
this for
not
100.
only that, Lloyd.
Mhm.
When you put it all together, you've got to get your prototype ones made. So you need a full
Yeah.
finished one, and you know what I mean. So that's where the costs are coming in. We don't also want to cheap out on just buying from the first place that we come across. We want to look. It'd be really nice to get that up so that I could go travel to these places and actually film the process of the boxes being made. Do you know,
Yeah.
like those updates? I think are really important. Do you know, like I think that they're just a touch that everybody else is missing. And
It is, and you can, and there's a difference when it makes the difference. The experience of taking that package, knowing that somebody has put their heart, soul, blood, sweat, and tears. And actually, I want to get to blood because I'm looking on you again. I sound like the world's worst car salesman but I haven't really sat down to chat with you about the whole kit and go through it. And it's interesting working with you on one side of it from the big company side and now being on the other side of it where I'm essentially just a spectator looking at this now. I'm seeing that you've got everything, including the Grail,
yeah,
right? Which is
So,
like the best thing you've ever fucking done in your life for $399.
oh
yeah.
yeah. Well,
What
just
is
to
that about?
well, if Peter, if you don't mind, so we've included all these tiers with a bunch of extras that I think are going to be enticing to people that match with the theme of the project. So we have the early bird special, we have the regular kit, which is going to go up in a couple of days, and then we have other tiers that add certain qualities and things that people are going to enjoy. For example, there's a cold reading companion that we're going to add there too, which is a book that goes over a bunch of new cold reading techniques and things to supplement the actual content of the box. There's Beyond the Veil, which is going to be a series of interviews with people in the actual space itself of psychic bend and
See,
people
that's
that
the
are
stuff that I want to see. That's the stuff that I want.
well. These are great because again they supplement the material in the kit, and then you have we also are
Oh
including
wait,
the
wait,
journey.
and that sorry, that's interviews with actual psychics like
Yeah,
from like
yeah, that
I don't know, like a Louisiana or something.
well, no, actual psychics that are well-known people in the space that are
So there's
yeah.
one. I know I've said this before, but there's one person that's gone out of retirement, been out of retirement for years and years and years. Arguably the most well at the time the most well-known psychic mentalist, selling products for more money than anybody else has really ever sold money in the industry. So we're not talking like £300 books, £400 books. We're talking like £1,000 per copy of each of these books, and
Mhm.
they've yeah, they're gonna come out and do an interview and share their techniques. And I'm
Holy
hoping
sh!
another thing that I've not really said and not really talked about, but my idea, if I can do it, is to take some of the money from this and buy their entire back catalogue. Like I'd love to own the rights to their entire back catalogue. So that'd be something that I'd love to do. And if I manage that, there'll be an untold amount of stuff that I'll sprinkle into like these projects, like the Beyond the Veil and stuff like that. There's people that I definitely know wouldn't usually do an interview that I've got interviews with. I've sat down with actual psychics and spent time talking to them, and I've and I told them very openly, like, look, what I'm doing is not to denounce what it is that you do, but I'm trying to look at this and I'm trying to learn. Can we talk about what you do? And then what I do is I take their conversation and my interview with them, and then I break down what it is that I think they're doing and what techniques they're using without even knowing they're using them. So you're getting both sides of the coin. You're getting these mentalists that were like the goats of what they were doing, and you're getting real psychics that are just talking to me and just letting it flow, and I'm then breaking that down and saying, look, this is the technique that's being used. And
Two things.
I have a couple of them that admit that they sometimes use techniques. I've got a couple on camera that admit it.
Fuck. Okay, so look, two things. Fredo, one of my longtime listeners, wicked guy, asks if one was to go for the everything tier, will you send the Veil and the Grail separately before the kit?
So I'll send the Grail beforehand, the Vale needs editing. So, and I still want to get a couple more interviews. But where I'm at this moment in time is there's another couple of weeks on this kit. And then outside of this kit, I've got to make one trip to Orlando. Sorry, one trip to Miami. I keep calling it
Thank you.
Orlando. I don't know why I keep doing that, but one trip to
Disney,
Miami
Disney, mate.
just to finish a couple of bits up video wise. And then I'm on with the editing for Beyond the Veil. So it will be sent out well before the kit. But right now, promising an actual date is one thing that I don't want to do, because I don't want to say, oh, it's going to be out on the 15th of September, and then the 15th of September comes. I don't want to be one of those companies that does that. What I want to say is I want to make it the best that it can be, but you will get it before your kit, well before your kit, and the Grail can go out straight away. The Journey can go out straight away. Like anything that's there that's been bought can go out straight away. I've got somebody right now, a friend of mine that were on a live a couple of weeks back, that's going to go through the cold reading companion and just lay it out and proof it properly, and I'm going to pay for that so that it's done right. Do you know
What
what I
I
mean?
love about this is that, and again, this is why you're going solo. This is what Kickstarter is for. When we've worked with other people, they use Kickstarter. Yeah, that the product's in the warehouse most of the times. The product, the full thing. Sometimes it's not, right? But a lot of the times the full kit is ready to go into manufacturing or has been manufactured. That's not what Kickstarter is about. Kickstarter is about independently funding creators and artists who have incredible big project ideas and don't have the necessary means to get them into the hands of people around the world. This is the spirit of Kickstarter. This is what I love so much about this. This is supporting brilliance and artists like yourselves. It blows me away. And guys,
again,
we're so close to that goal, by the way. We're at $59,390. If Fredo picks up the everything kit and we get, what's that, one more pledge, then I get to learn a new ACAAN and you can all learn it with me.
So, just to talk about the Astro card, because we never got onto that, and then finish on the markings. Like the marking
Mention
system.
the Grail first. Talk a little bit, because the Grail.
The Grail's the best thing in the world.
So the Grail. So I always hate it whenever I hear, and I saw it. So there were a really strange bell curve with my career, like an incredibly strange bell curve. And so what people had watched years and years ago is old Skype recordings of things that I'd performed, and they'd go, "Oh yeah, it's just Stooges. Oh yeah, it's just actors." And I don't need to use Stooges. I don't need to waste my time on that. Like I've said to Pigcake, take me to any bar somewhere where, and I often ask, and I swear to you when I ask this, I'll say, take me where the characters are, the most difficult people. That's one of the things that I always ask Pigcake when we're out somewhere. Take me where the real people are that are going to give us, not these people that are pretending on camera or doing. I want real people, and I want to see those. I want to see a bit of backwards and forwards and a little bit of texture, right? Like the greatest paintings in the world are never perfect. And that's what I want, right? And so going back then, that was the commentary to start with. It's all this, it's all that. And then people started to learn it and started to promote the material. And then I'd read on forums, yeah, it's all well and good, but nobody has the capacity mentally to be able to balance all that. You know, we just can't learn it. It's too much to learn. And with some of that, I agree. Don't get me wrong. Like systems like Isabella Star 3 are really easy for me. But I know that other people might struggle with that stuff, you know, especially if you're not spending as much time learning as I am. And then it was, oh, this stuff's like really amazing, but the experience stuff is a bit too out of my league. And so I'd read this stuff, and then years later, I don't know why, things just sort of took off, and the Times caught up with the stuff that I'd released earlier. So this is fact, and if you don't believe me, feel free to reach out to Penguin. This is absolute fact. And you can ask Kent and Nepper this. I sent Kent and Nepper and Penguin ideas 12 years ago that I only released 6 months ago, right? And they told me, oh yeah, no, they're not very good ideas, or they're, you know, people aren't going to be interested in this stuff, or it's just not commercial enough. 6 months ago, those same companies were begging to purchase the stuff that they turned down 12 years ago. So it seems like the Times almost caught up with what I were doing, right? Now, there's a reason for me mentioning that. It's because in my time, I've also learned a thing or two. I've learned how to strip back. I've learned how to make things faster. I've learned how to point out when something's a problem. I fucking hate propless mentalism. I fucking hate it, right? Not propolis mentalism that I'm performing. I'm not saying that I hate what I perform. I'm saying I hate it. I hate seeing these new ideas that come out. I'm not going to name any names, but there's a photograph that's been going around on Facebook recently, and there's like 40 sums that you've got to do mentally to get to be able to do it. Or you've got to count through the letters of the alphabet and then jump backwards 4 letters and forwards 10 letters. I'm not a fan of that. That is not mentalism. That's not good magic. That's procedure, and that procedure leads you directly to the method. So what I wanted were a series of presentations where the method were built into the presentation in a way that it couldn't be picked apart, and it happened quick. So I do a thing called the Phantom Dictionary test. Everybody raved about this at Blackpool. Mark Paul and Mark Spellman were at the back of the room, two of the most established mentalists, and Mark Spellman stopped me in the corridor afterwards and said, when you did that, Mark Paul and I just looked at each other and just went, what the fuck? Like, they were blown away, right? And this is exactly what they saw. A paper ball gets thrown again, gets thrown again. Everybody in the room is thinking of a random word. The person who catches the ball stands up, opens the paper ball, and the words inside the paper ball that they were thinking of. Any word in the English dictionary. They could have thought of any letter, they could have thought of any word, right? I show you a way to do that in 30 seconds on the Grail. It blew everybody away.
On the Grail?
On the Grail. That's called the Phantom Dictionary test. Not only do I teach you that, I teach you how to do Which Hand. I teach you how to do the free will principle. I teach you how to do Kurasuke. Fedon Billick provides a few of his PDFs and an interview. Rhys Goodley provides 5 of his books and an interview. Louis Laval did an interview on propolis mentalism and provided a couple of his books. Like Kent and Nepper talked to me about propolis mentalism and script-based mentalism on that set. There's a J. DiBiase shares his rock, paper, scissors. I share my rock, paper, scissors variant. There's a series of these artists that come on and have shared all their propolis techniques, but the good ones. And then what I've done is I've looked at them and gone, this is how I'd approach it. Joshua Quinn came on.
Wow.
Phil
From
Smith shared
the guy who wrote Paralyzed, is it?
Yeah, he shared his brand new version of Fortunal on there. And I talk about, here's how you guess a name somebody's thinking of. Here's how you do this with a pin code. Here's how you do this with a star sign. Here's how you do this. And what I did is I compiled in one place all of good, solid presentational miracles into the Grail. And those artists shared their reflection and the way that they do it. What I didn't do is I didn't talk about, right, okay, so now what I want you to do is I want you to go into the corner and do a cartwheel, count how many seconds it took you to do a cartwheel, come back, count through the letters of the alphabet that much. Now I want you to divide it by your shoe size. Now add in there your hair colour, and here we are, right? I despise that, and anybody that thinks that I'm into that is completely wrong. Now, there is something to be said about, in the early days, experimenting with that stuff, because I had to experiment with that stuff to get to what's on the Grail. Again, hard-hitting, impactful, solid miracles. If you want to go out and guess a drawing somebody's thinking of, you could do it. If you want to tell them to think of a word and know it, you can do it. If you want them to do a which hand routine, we know electronics, and be right 99.9% of the time. The reason I say 99.9% of the time is because there's always a 0.1% of buffer for anything that you're doing. Your electronics can fail. Somebody might not write something down properly, but in this you have the same amount of buffer, but it's language based and it's simple.
Joni MB says, so you share a new method for a star sign divination in there?
There's Louis Laval talks about star sign divinations in there. So star sign
so good as well. He's insanely good.
Yeah, he's great. There's loads of. I do a full section on astrology and being able to work things out about astrology and new techniques for better dresses for old techniques that you might already know. Now on the Psychic Survival Kit, there's the Astro card, which I talked to you about earlier. It's a Q&A card and an Astro card merged into one. So he takes it, you look away, they'll think of a question, they think about another question. Without fishing, they put it in their pocket. You instantly tell them the answers to the questions they're thinking of, and you reveal their star sign.
So yeah, so I've seen a bit of this. So as an outsider, I hope you know what I'm talking about. But basically, what this card will let someone do is you hand the card. So if I'm performing, I hand this card that has like certain words and phrases to do with astrology on there.
Just questions. No.
And I say, so take this card, look at the question that relates to you, your star sign. They look at it and you look away seemingly, and in that action, without doing any brain work, without doing like
There's
any
no
difficult
framework.
like anagrams and stuff, you now instantly know their star sign, and yet they, for all intents and purposes, they literally just think they've got the card, read a question, and put it away.
They can hide the card. It doesn't matter. Even if
Fucking
they're
what?
holding it like this, it doesn't make a difference. It's like, look, I talk about that, and also the best way to put it is this: the moment that they know is the moment that you know. So the moment they've looked at their question is the exact moment that you know, and you don't need to fish. There's no memory work required. It's literally the fastest, cleanest version that I've seen. And if I had to do this, if I got told, look, you're going to go and we need to know somebody's star sign. We don't want to write it down. You know, we don't want you to fish using an anagram. This would be my go-to now every single time.
Wow.
You know,
Holy
it's
potato chips. I'm trying to see if there's a part. Is it
been
the trailer?
psychics that I'm the. No, we did that. We hadn't even put. The wild thing is, you saw the reaction to that. Like the reaction is unbelievable. We didn't put that performance or reaction into the trailer. We had so many good reactions and so many good performances. Not to sound. I don't want to sound like I'm being ego driven there. I'm
No, no, no,
saying
at all.
it were really difficult to choose what we're gonna make the cut. Like that were interesting, but the story that we wove through the narrative of the trailer, he didn't fit it, so we didn't put it in there. But you saw, I showed you the performance the other day,
Yeah, it's so fast. That's the thing. It's so fast. You're just like, oh, look,
and I'm not
read.
even looking, and I'm like, put it away.
Bizarrely good. So right, look, I feel bad for Pigcake. I'm
Oh,
sitting here
dude.
looking at his beautiful face. I miss the sound of his beautiful voice. Somebody asked earlier that they want to know what your perspective is from being on the other side of the camera, and what do you think about the kit? And tell us some of the stuff that you particularly love. I think your brain works a bit more like me, where you kind of like tricks boxed off in a sense, not so much like Pete is like, I believe like Pete is the canvas, in a way, and we're kind of like the paintbrushes, like that's like more modular approach. So I think you'd
Oh
speak
no,
more for me.
big cakes, the tripod.
I'm the tripod. Yeah, I'm
A
the human
tripod with
tripod.
with a short
I'm
leg, and
just gonna
then
get a glass of
All
water.
that.
I'll be a few seconds, Lloyd. I'm just gonna get a glass of water.
Well, I mean, I just because of the nature of my channel and what I teach, I mean, I typically stick to things that are easy to reach for most people, right? And I do that on
because of your
not the show
height.
because of my height. Thank you,
Sorry,
Lloyd. I
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
You're
You're
welcome.
about 3 inches taller than me. Okay, all right. So
Hey,
no, you're
three
not.
inches is a lot, man.
Okay, well, I measure my inches like that. So,
Oh,
but I have a massive interest in mentalism. I have a massive interest in hypnosis, and I tend to just teach things that are easy and accessible for people. So when it comes to even mentalism stuff, it's the simplest way that I like to teach things. However, for this project, I've also had an interest in psychics. I mean, my mom considers herself a psychic, so I've had that growing up in my life, and to see this in actual in person, and to go to these places that are known for their psychic energy. Sedona is known as the vortex capital of the universe for whatever reason, where people go from all around the world just to stand in the mountains and then reach out and do a bunch of weird stuff and crystals. And obviously New Orleans has the whole vibe of the death, and there's a lot of voodoo in New Orleans. And we went to St. Augustine, the first city in the entirety of the United States was St. Augustine. We also wanted to go to the psychic capital of the world, which is in Florida, called Casadega, which we didn't end up doing because of time restraints. But seeing it from the perspective of somebody who's a professional virgin like I am, when it comes to like magic and stuff. What really stood out to me the most was how much you get for how little you put in. So how much reaction you get, how much post reaction, because after there's always that conversation. Usually when it comes to tricks, it's like, oh, that's cool. Wow, you're the best magician I've ever seen. But when it comes to this sort of content, what's absolutely mind blowing is that you get the reaction. It's a reaction that you've never gotten before. You've worked less than you've ever had to work, and you also get more of a connection with the participant. Now you get involved in conversations. You get involved in a more social side of it, because now you're talking about life. You're talking about their favorite subject, which is themselves, right? And traditionally, when it comes to magic and mentalism, it's always look at me, look what I could do. But here, think of a memory. Think of something that means something to you. Okay, great. Let's work how we could both come to this conclusion, and I could verify that I'm actually picking up this information, which is sort of, what this is in a nutshell. But seeing those reactions in all the places we went, we got, performances in New Orleans, we got performances in Nashville, where everybody's hammered out of their minds at like, 9 in the morning. We got performances in Orlando, in Miami, and these are places that it's hard to perform just because of the nature of the locations that we're in. We're in bars, we're in noisy environments, and for people to hank down and to want to see this stuff. I mentioned it before that in Miami and in Orlando, just by the nature of Peter taking out the props, people were coming up to him and going, "Hey, what are you doing? You psychic? Can you give readings? Give me a reading." And you're no longer having to, "Hi, I'm the wandering magician, and I'm wondering if you want to see a trick." Going up to people and telling them some terrible intro. People are coming up to you. They're coming up to you and they're curious about the content. And that's what kind of struck me the most as just recording this and seeing the whole creative process. And also the learning throughout the trip. Because again, this could have probably had similar success had we just gotten in a fucking studio and just recorded performance explanation. But again, I think one of the things that sets the way Peter wants to do things, which I argue with all the time, is that he wants to give more value to the people and give more of himself through the context. And the context is, we took this massive journey. We went from Los Angeles to Miami. We've learned things along the way. We've learned things about how psychics work. We learned how little effort it takes for them to get massive reactions. So why not sprinkle in a little bit of classic methods, sprinkle in all these other subtleties, these sprinkles, like you like to call them, Peter, and turn them into something that's going to be memorable and turn them into guaranteed hits. And for very little effort on your end, I would say that the majority of the stuff in this box is very, very low effort. It's stuff that the props, again, do the work for you. And it's kind of a funny balance between the Grail and this, because the Grail is essentially propless, and this is very, very prop heavy. But you have the best of both worlds, especially if you happen to have picked up the Grail or you get it for this kit. It's the best of both worlds, and now you have the ability to either choose whether or not you want to use these props to enhance those propless bits, whether or not you just want to stick with the propless stuff. And they both work. They both have their situations where they're going to hit massively. And it's just an interesting sort of journey to take, especially from the things you learn watching these people at work, watching the card readers in New Orleans, laying them out in these weird different spreads. And as Peter mentioned in the actual kit and in other interviews we've done, it's funny because in Magic, you have these self-working tricks where, okay, now I'm dealing into 3 piles. Now I have to do this. And it's just there because of the method. Whereas when the psychics do it, when they're doing card reading, you notice that they're laying these things out, and that's to facilitate the reading of the person. So why not hide the method in there? Why not hide the method in there? Do less work, do the work that you're already doing, and get your reactions multiplied exponentially. It's ridiculous. But I think what he's done with this kit, and hopefully what we've managed to provide as far as, the actual content itself, is a very comprehensive look as to something that's been on the fringe for years of people worried about this sort of content. And me, myself, I'm a skeptic. I hate psychics. I hate the idea of somebody
I'm the same as you. Actually, you do a lot of exposés on psychics. How did your opinion on them change after this?
Well, it's the same. It's the same. But the difference here is that, again, everything we're doing is for entertainment purposes. We're not, there's no sort of, like John Edwards, where he'll have people fill out prayer cards, talk about pre-show. He'll have people fill out prayer cards. And then coincidentally, the people that filled out the prayer cards with the most detail are the ones that end up on the final cut.
Wait, Jonathan Edwards does that?
Yeah, listen, everybody does it. They're all doing it.
I didn't know he did that because he always pertains to not do. So, okay, so I want to ask Pigcake one more question. So from a more modular sense, you have to pick out 3 tricks on this project that you watched, and for whatever reason they either stay with you or they get the best reactions, even if you don't personally perform that style. I want to know what 3 tricks you think are the best things that for you on there, and then I want you to tell me like about 3 or like what the most interesting prop that comes with it. Maybe not. Maybe it's interesting, or maybe it's the one that you want the most. Is that cool?
Well, for me, As far as what's on there, I've gone to the point in my sort of magic where now little things and optimizations value more than the actual tricks. And I think it's a testament when you're early on in magic that you just want to collect tricks and you just want to collect all these things that you never end up using. But for me, what I got the most value from, obviously, just in a tricks perspective, is the fucking Astro card. To me, that is unbelievable because, and I've said it before, I think that's going to be the thing that people are going to perform the most, just because it's so easy, just because it's the prop that essentially does the work. If you just watch them momentarily and not even looking, and you could see exactly what questions they're thinking of and their star sign without having to go through any sort of lengthy process. That to me, I think is a banger. Also, you have a couple lines when it comes to the tarot cards and readings that, to me, I'm like, okay, those little lines are just little things that you add, the little sprinkles that turn what would be a normal reading into something unbelievable. So even the basic reading is something I'm taking away. And also the crystal work. So there's a lot of stuff in there about crystals, and which is, again, tying back to one thing that was mentioned before about adding to it. If we deliver the box right now, we said, fuck it, let's go balls to the wall and deliver the box. What people are going to get is a comprehensive look as to this world of mentalism. They're going to get a kit that's going to get great reviews. Obviously, you're going to have your detractors and people that aren't necessarily interested, but you're going to have the vast majority of people say, this is a fucking good kit. We're adding to it. We're adding more as the days go on. We're adding more explanations. We're adding potentially to the props. So even the crystals alone, the work on that to me is invaluable. Yeah, using it with the box, with the bag, using it on their own for which hand routines, just that. Those are the three that I would say are unbelievable. The thing that I really want, which is actually something that I think is vastly underrated, is the holder for the cards, because I myself am one of these people that I detest the notion of somebody going, oh well, right? So but with the holder, I'm finding myself more into this sort of EDC mentality of, I carry a knife, I carry something that I showed you earlier. I carry a notepad. I find myself to be carrying a notepad, and analog to me is becoming more important than something like fucking notes on an iPhone, because they're more visceral. You're more likely to remember them. So to have something like that, where now it justifies the prop, where you have this card that's no longer just a random card that's in my dirty pocket next to sponge balls. It's now this artist sketch pad that now I could turn into what could be an entire act with just these billets. And again, the billet work. I just remember the fucking billet work in the project where, you go over the combination of pendulums and the billets by themselves and how to use them to literally sit in silence, not do any work on your end, and get reactions like you've never seen in your entire life. Like, that's the part that I found hysterical of this, that it's like, okay, what's the method? The method is you sit with them for 30 seconds, you look at them, and they're going to thank you for it. Like, you can't ask for more in terms of method, and especially for a magician, someone that's driven by methods, and we're always collecting even the any card, any number. You're out here like, oh my God, I want to know them. Give me the method, right?
Well, speaking of that, guys, it's time to pop some champagne corks. I didn't think we would do it. I honestly didn't think we'd do it. It's my first live stream in 2 years, so it's, like, channel's not as active as it used to be. We have hit the £60,000, which is the strongest currency in the world. In America, that's basically like 7 houses. We've hit the £60,000 goal. Now Pete Turner's on the hook. Gotta teach the ACAAN. First of all, thank you to everyone that's pledged to get us over the goal. That's insane. A guy called Steve Zip in the comments bought everything. He pledged for everything, Pete.
Oh, thank you.
So that's amazing. I believe it was
so
Darren Close that got us over the edge. So
Darren is a geezer, is Darren, right? So let me just be real quick on this, because I think this is a good way to go out. But I want to say what I want from the kit, because I thought you were going to say a different answer. I thought you were going to give the answer of the pendulum with a crystal with a magnet. So one thing that I want to build is I want to get one of the crystals, and I built one, but it were a lot of work. And we had to submerge the crystal in water. We had to drill down in water to get it to not shatter.
Stop it from shattering. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So what we want though is a crystal that's got a neodymium built into it, but it looks like a transparent crystal. So years ago, I designed this concept for electronic devices, and I'll quickly share this very, very quickly. So about 7 or 8 years ago. We won the Nordic Championships. One of the acts that I'm working on, a guy called Henrik Silva, and what we built is a plastic transparent clipboard, and we put a survey on the top of it. And what we looked at is, okay, if we take two pieces of paper and then put the survey on it, what does the survey look like through the back of those two pieces of paper? So then we printed off paper on a printer to the point it was the same translucency as this questionnaire through two bits of paper. We then routed out the clipboard, stuck a Labco device into the subset of the routed out clipboard, but glued in the transparent printed piece of paper and then put a questionnaire on the top of it. So when you looked at the plastic clipboard from the back, you believed you could see all the way through to the questionnaires, when really what you were doing is using the fake printed translucency of the paper to hide the electronic device in a clear clipboard, right? Wow. So it's just a clever way to hide it. But what I thought is, could I get a crystal that's a light coloured crystal and somehow hide a neodymium inside it so you believed that you could see through the crystal? And I found a way to engineer it to be able to do that. But the reason that that's important is because inside the bottle, on the pendulum, there are iron shards or iron filings, which means that if somebody's holding on to that neodymium crystal, when you hover the pendulum over the top, it starts to move because it's reacting to the magnetic field of the crystal, of the magnet inside the crystal, which looks exactly how a pendulum's supposed to look when you hold it over the top of something. So now you could do the perfect analog version of Which Hand, and I'd love to R&D that. If I could have my dreamer putting anything in there, that's what I'd put in the kit, because now you can have a spectator hold it and it'll spin over the top of the hand that another spectator's holding the crystal in, and they'll genuinely believe that they felt the pendulum moving. So that'd be my wish to go in there, but that's going to require some heavy R&D. It took me 10 days to make one of them, and just I need to find the right people to be able to do it that know more about that subject than I. So let's finish out on this any card at any number. Now, there's a couple of things that are really important. Firstly, the first bit is quite important, is that in the real world, you won't have to do this. You can literally just take them, spread them, false shuffle them. But I need to know roughly the order of that deck of cards, right? So I in my head, I need to know roughly what the order of that deck of cards is, but I only need to remember one or two cards. That's it. So the first bit, and I swear to you on this, I've had people shuffle cards. I say, I want to prove it's not just luck. In fact, this happened at my invention in 2014, I believe, and Jeff McBride were on stage, and people accused Jeff McBride of being a stooge for me, right? This is, it's on the forums. You can read, people have talked about it, but basically Jeff McBride shuffled a deck of cards. It was his deck that he brought out the audience because they challenged me to repeat it. They dealt the cards. I said, would you believe me if I told you could think of a card and a number and it'd be there? Statistically, try this out. Say to somebody, think of a number from 1 to 52. You will find most people think of 23 or 27 when asked that question for the first time.
27 was the... Okay. In my head, it was 27 was the alternate.
Yeah, so 23 or 27 is the most chosen number. So the first question I ask is, did you go for a number in the 20s? And they go, yeah. And I go, 23? And they go, no, 27. If they say any range in between there, I go, okay, so it's in the middle of that, which shows you that we know how humans think. We know how people think, right?
Right. So, do you know what? Sorry. Just feel like to be the people on the other side. I didn't realize that you asked, was it a number in the 20s? Because if I'd said no, you would have
said, what's the number?
Said, or maybe taken a stab at another number.
I wouldn't have done that. I just said, what's the number?
Oh, okay.
That's it. So the first question
I didn't even realize you asked that. I was like, oh, sorry, that's just like an extra thing. Okay,
yeah, but it doesn't really matter. What that's doing is that's giving me a range of anywhere up to 20, which is important. I can just say, deal down 23 cards and see if the 6 of clubs is there. So now let's run through. So we start running through these, and I know the chance of it being there very slim. Sometimes it happens, and it has happened before. It happened with Jeff McBride on stage. The card that he picked was at the number he named. Miracle done.
Yeah.
In front of a room full of magicians, it happens.
And like you said, 2014, that's 11 years ago. It's not like this happens every day.
No, it's happened a number of times at conventions. I'd say at least once every single time I'm at a convention, something like this happens. In fact, I have a video on my phone. I'm using the phone at the minute. I have a video on my phone of it happening in Vegas to someone who shuffled cards, put them on the bedside table, dealt down, and the card were at that number, right? It happens, right? So what I'm doing is, so shows the cards up to 23.
Okay, so
you can close your eyes as well, just so that you can't see the cards, because that's important. So just
one,
keep going.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Stop there a second. So stop there. So what I do is I stop them at 10 and I say, have you seen your card so far? So you said the 6 of clubs last time, but let's
Yeah.
pretend it's that again. So just keep going.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Stop there a second, right? So don't look at what that card is. So
Okay.
you've got your eyes closed. If I asked you right now just to name the first number that popped into your head, what would it be?
7.
Okay, and what would be the very last suit that you'd ever name if you were to pick a suit?
Clubs.
7 of clubs. So now that'd be the last one. So if I asked you right now to completely change your mind on the colour and the suit.
Diamonds.
So 7 of
Diamonds.
7 of diamonds. Open your eyes and look at that card. Right. So that's how I'd work that in this situation. You genuinely couldn't see there. That's important, right?
No,
But
I can do whatever people tell me to do to cover my eyes.
Right, so I remember that card, the 15th card I remember. Anything in that little ballpark I remember, right? And I'll explain what I do with it. So keep going. So you got 23. That
16,
for me, so that's
17,
a horrible card. Stop there a second. That's a pretty good card. So I'd remember 15 and 17 there. They're pretty good cards for me, right?
Okay.
And I'll explain why, but keep going.
Okay. 17, 18, 19,
20,
20, 21,
22, and 23.
23.
So it's not there. So I point out it's not there and you square them up. That's it, right? So now I've clocked that 7 of diamonds. You just saw how I forced that 7 of diamonds there just as quickly as I did the king, right? I had to move a little bit on the suit just because I'm moving fast, but I will explain how I do this had it be another card. And I will if you reach out to my email. So if you're watching this stream and you reach out to my email, I will literally email you a PDF with how to force any of the 52 cards. But you have to give me a couple of days just to format the PDF. But I will, if you email me at peterturnermind@hotmail.co.uk, I will show you a series of psychological forces that will get you to the cards and how to dance around them. So it saves you time. And I'll do that for free if you send me an email, peterturnermind@hotmail.co.uk. So I've remembered that 15th card. Now here's where the beautiful little dual reality takes place. Because you'll remember this, Lloyd. I said to you, think of a number and just burn it into the back of your mind.
I thought of 38.
So you didn't think of 15?
No.
So why did you stop at 15?
Yeah, this is the bit that when I said I think I got the number thing, I felt it felt like the right thing to. I was dealing, and you just said stop somewhere, so I just dealt and I stopped somewhere. I wasn't thinking about a number. I was just
because I never brought that number back up. So what I said to you is think of a number for me and just burn it into the back of your head.
Yeah, it was 38.
Right. So let's say you're thinking of 38. And I say, and you'll notice how very stringent I was if you play this back and I go, what I don't want you to do is say anything, just do what you think you're supposed to do. Just deal the cards. And you started talking. I said, Lloyd, just deal the cards.
Yeah, I did. So I wasn't.
Yeah, but you're not, because now I'm controlling what you're doing, and that's important.
And also you never said deal to that number. You just said start dealing. So I was like, okay.
I said just don't worry about anything else. Just deal the cards.
Yeah, so I did, and I wasn't thinking about the number at all. So I just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah. So then stop there. Okay. And then I used the stop force.
Yeah.
Right, and what I said there was, and stop whenever you want.
And I felt like I was trying to throw you off a bit, so I felt like I'd gone on. I was like, okay, I'm going to try and be a bit tricky. So I was like, I'm going to go further than it feels right. So I was like, okay. Right. I was like, okay.
And then, yeah, and that's it. So what card is that? And that's that 7 of diamonds look that you've ended up at.
Yeah.
Right. But it's just natural to stop round there. Now, you might have been 1 or 2 out. And that's where you have to learn to play with this. I have to know if it's the one on the table. I have to know if you've gone past it by 1. I have to know if you stayed back by 1. So let me just run a couple of quick examples because I'm going to run, but I'm going to show you this. And I will send you the PDF on how to do the card forces. So just shuffle them up. Right. So now just quickly go through. And then when you get to like 5 cards away from 15, just turn away and I'll just show you a quick example. So
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to look away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Okay, so that'll do.
Six.
Okay, that'll do. So stop there. So put them in. So collect the cards and put the cards back on top of the deck. So we're in this position now where this would be a horrible position because of other factors, but I'll just explain to you what it is that I do. So imagine that I had a packet of cards, Lloyd, right? And these cards were in sequential order, and now we're going to deal them down onto the table. So, for example, the first one would be an ace, the second one would be a 2, the third one would be a 3, right? I'm going to keep going through these, and we'll imagine they're a particular suit in a second, but don't worry about the suit, just see the value. So I start to deal ace. Just say stop.
Stop.
So just here on the, do you know which one you stopped at?
Yep.
Which one was it?
The 6.
The 6. So right now, if I said to you, I'm going to get you to think of a suit and then completely change your mind. So think of a suit for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and then change your mind.
Okay.
You're not in a black suit right now, are you?
No.
No, okay, so I'll tell you what, change your mind one more time.
Okay.
Okay, what suit are you thinking of?
Spade.
So the 6 of spades.
Yeah.
That's what the 15th card is in that deck. Right, so again, I've got a multitude of these methods to get you to change your mind and end up exactly where I need you to be. It doesn't matter how much you shuffle. But now you're going to work with this stop force. These forces are not difficult once you learn them. They're just techniques. And this PDF outlines these, right? So if you reach out to me at peterturnermind@hotmail.co.uk, I'll go through that. So now the stop force. So you start dealing down. And what I do is as I get to about, I'm counting 5, 6, 7, you stop wherever you want.
That
Okay.
feels right.
So now I know you've overshot by 1. Right? You've overshot by 1 there. I think I might be wrong. Is that the 6 of spades? So you've overshot. It's on the table. So there.
Yeah.
So you've dealt it down. You've overshot in this. If you were holding on to the next one, which you've done in every other game, we'd have overshot by 1. Right? So now I just do this. I go, look, just take that card and put it back on that packet on your left. So there's a packet on your left and a packet on your right. And the choice that Burglass would give you every single time is which one you wanted to work with. So in your mind, just change between left or right. So just keep changing, and stop. Now, only you know where you stop there. I obviously don't. And if you were to change your mind one more time, this would be different. In fact, if you were to change your mind between left or right one more time, where would you be?
Right.
Okay, that's the card we'll go with. Now, if you'd have said left there, I'd have just gone, and you could have done that. But that tells us that you didn't. When I said stop, you specifically stopped where? And then you'd be back on the right again. So it's a Tombola principle by Michael Murray. Really beautiful principle. But let's say that you'd overshot by another card or another couple of cards. It really doesn't matter. Do what you want. Okay. So if I said to you right now, I don't know where it is, the card that you're thinking of, but I feel you're close. If I ask you right now, just name the first small number that popped into your head, what would it be?
2.
2. Okay, so I'll tell you what. Take a couple of cards back. So from the table, take a couple back. And now don't even think. This is what I want you to do for me. Right now, do you want to stay where you are, or do you want to go back another couple or one more card for luck?
Stay.
Okay. Or do you want to take one back and then cut some?
Yeah, take one back and cut.
So take one back. Now grab some of those on the table and cut them onto the top. Now your instincts told you to go for that. That's where your instincts told you to stop. And then now that'll be the card that's on the top of that packet.
Yeah.
Just using the old cross-cut force, right? But you can get people to move a couple either way. Notice I didn't give you a choice, really. I said, do you want to do a few more? And then I said, just do what? Think of
What would you do if someone said, like, no?
If they're adamantly saying no,
Yeah.
in that position, I'd re-ask. I'd say to them, okay, so I'm going to ask you, do you think you're close? Do you think you're bang on? What do you think? I'll tell you what, get rid of the cards in your hand.
Right.
Take the top 3 cards off where you stop, so we know you're in the vicinity of where you're supposed to be. And now I just do a simple...
patio.
It doesn't matter how much of a pain somebody is. I don't often give them the chance to say no. If I'm being bold, I will. I'll give them that chance all day long. But the beauty of this technique is, see what the 15th card is, or the 16th, 17th card, whatever's in that range of the best cards to force, apply the easiest force of all time. These psychological forces, they were considered the holy grail of mentalism. I spent the time learning how to force 52 of these, right? With just a bit of language.
Yeah.
Now, the beauty is then, burn that number into the back of your head. So you burn that number into the back of your head. When you burn it into the back of your head, start dealing down. Don't do anything other than just dealing. And then when you get close, and you
That's
just stop.
so genius, man. That is literally, because, sorry to interrupt. like when it comes to ACANs, the problem is, right, you can either, when it comes to like magicians, you can either force one or the other. Is either force the number or force the card, or you can have full control of the card, but you can't have full control of the number. It's always like, that's why it's like the eternal problem. It's like the weighing scales are off. But you have literally solved the problem of having any number thought of, and then they deal down and it's at a position.
Now,
Like that is insane, because
listen
if
to the line, Lloyd. Listen to this line. So you thought of a random number,
yeah,
and you dealt down to a random number that none of us could have guessed in advance. Well, the answer to both of those questions are true.
yeah,
So so then you sew that up for me, because you're like, and even if you turn around and go, I first thought of 37 and I changed my mind, even more impressive because you never verbalized the 37 out loud. So it just doubles down the layer of reality that
yeah. You could say like, so you could even force it into attention. You could say, what was the number you first thought of? 38.
and then you change.
Why did you stop at 15? Because it
But
felt right.
I won't even mention it. I won't even mention
No,
it.
you don't have to mention it. But like, even if someone's worried, if somebody out there listening is worried, thinking, "Oh, but what if they bring it up later?" It actually plays into
That's
it.
it. I mean, the psychological forces are not something to be worried about. You can take a regular deck and force it from that. There's little techniques and methods that you can use. And like I say, if you do email me, I will send you the PDF out so you can read it for free. You can see exactly how I do it, how I deal with these situations. And then it'll talk about being playful in there and just remembering that, look, this stuff is, it's not as difficult as it seems. It's not only I can do it. You know what I mean? Like, this is just a little bit of a play on language. It's just like playing a game. You've just got to learn to move them backwards and forwards and not be scared. And there's a couple of lines there that'll allow me the range of 3 playing cards. The king, for example, the beauty with the king, go back and listen to what I said. I didn't just go think of a card. I went, think of any card in the deck.
And I jumped from a 10 to a king, because I think that most people go for other cards. So I was like, oh, I'm going to go for something wildly out.
And then I just pressured you. Name a color, name a suit.
I also tried to fuck you up a bit, because I was like, I don't want to go for like a queen or a jack, because I know you can force them. So I was like,
well, the queen, but the way that I do the king, if that fails, is I'd go, okay, so now you thought of a number card, you're going to go for a picture as well. And then I'd do the tombola principle between the two values. So I talk about all this. Like, if somebody picks the number and not the picture, I say, okay, so we've got the number, now give me a picture as well. So we've had a range of all the cards, and now just change between these two. The same as when we had the 7 of diamonds and you named the clubs. I said, what would be the last suit you name? And you went club. I went, okay, that'd be the very last one. So let's go with the work we now. Completely changed the colour in the suit, and you said diamonds, and I was expecting you to say heart, but you said diamond, and I went, and when you changed to diamond there, I went, okay, so whatever you just said, I pretended I didn't hear you, whatever you just said then, 7 of what? And you went diamonds, and I went, okay, perfect, open your eyes and look. Like, I'm not...
And I suppose like some of this is free flowing, because I said diamonds because I'd already sort of used up hearts earlier. So like in the middle of a performance, if you know someone's already named...
After you get past 2 cards or 3 cards, it actually becomes easier, because you're using the card before it to keep forcing the rest of them.
Yeah.
If you're totally interested in this sort of stuff, like really, really interested in it, and you want to learn more about this sort of stuff in depth on camera, maybe you're not somebody who reads, you could go across to www.sleightoofmind.co.uk or peterturner.co.uk. There's a thing on there called the Turner Affect, not Effect, Affect. And I go into depth on every single playing card force that I know, every single timing force that I know, every way to get them to cut to a card. They can shuffle cards, and I have them name a card, shuffle the deck, and they hold on to the cards, and the cards on the top after they've shuffled them, and I've never touched them. So there's, all that's on there. It's called the Turner Effect. If you really love that kind of stuff, that's over there. But yeah, I think that's it. I'm exhausted now.
Wow. Well. Holy potato chips, man! What a I mean, my brain. Piggy, how did you spend 2 weeks with an RV with this mind criminal?
Right here, Diet Coke and Zin. That's
how I thought that was lubricant.
Oh, lubricant. Well, that a little bit too. A little bit.
Anything's lubricant if you try hard enough.
But yeah,
that's one I got back with me in Miami. So we reserved that for the aftermath, the bachelor party, as I called it.
The back to earth party. God damn it! Can I just say the goal is at £60,437. I am blown away. Smashed it, guys. Got you well over the mark for today. And I did put, if we get to 61,000 Pigcake, we'll strip. Unfortunately, we have not hit
Oh,
that goal. Although I feel like
Oh,
that is a bit
God.
of
Please,
self-sabotage.
cap it out there. Cap it out there, please. I'd ask you not to give any more pledges.
I want to see his piggy udders.
Oh, no. Listen, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you for following what we're doing, and Lloyd, thank you for giving us the time to come on and be able to talk about this stuff. You know, it means the world. And if you ever need help from me, or if you're anybody that's watching this, you know, you're working on anything and you don't want to go to a big production company, but you want it produced cinematically, or you just want somebody to help give you ideas, we're always here to help. Pigcake I and Lloyd are always here to steer you in the right direction. You know.
Yeah, I want to say thank you to you. Like you've always since day dot been so gracious with your behind the scenes, your time, effort, energy. You give 100% more than you take. And I haven't live streamed for 2 years. I've been very busy, and I wanted to just try and do something to just not just to give back to you guys for being so kind to me in private over the years. It's the least that I could do, and I genuinely believe in the product because of two things. It's your fully unfiltered mind in physical form with Pigcake alongside you, who I'm just the biggest fan in the world of Pigcake, and it's a real Kickstarter. It's a real Kickstarter for an artist that needs funding. I stand for this, and I stand for you guys, and I just thank you so much for taking
Thank
the
you for
time.
everybody that's backed, and thank you for everybody that's supported us. We are honestly blown away by everything that you're doing for us. And if you ever see us at a convention or wherever we are, feel free to come up. We'll hang out, we'll get a drink, we'll talk. I'm more than happy to jam. If there's any questions of anything of mine you've ever seen that you want to know about, Lloyd will tell you. I'm not precious when it comes to stuff. I'll share and share and share, and I'll always do my best.
Thank you so much, guys. We'll probably be back if we hit the big goal. Let's come back and celebrate. Let's do another live stream. Let's Pigcake will getting naked is not the big goal, but that will
No.
happen. But
I'll
for
start the stream
now,
naked.
oh yeah, just a little tiny ace of diamonds.
Thank you. Thank you. Bless you guys. Bless
Yeah.
you.
Not
We
like a
just-
10 of clubs,
No,
but like
we-
a little ace.
We just cut the pip off of it.
Just cover it.
A little mini deck.
Yeah.
All right, I'm
Here
going to
it
press the stop streaming
Right.
button. It's probably going to take like 30 seconds to top out. So thank you all so much again. We'll be back
Thank you.
real soon. Until the next time, folks, I've been Lloyd. That's Peter Turner Pigcake. Peace.